Merryfield's Gardening Advisor, brought to you by the experts at Merryfield Garden Center. Join us as we discover beautiful plants, new trends, and exciting ideas for your landscape. So let's get growing together. Merryfield's Gardening Advisor, bringing out the best in your garden.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Merryfield's Gardening Advisor. I'm your host, Debbie Warhurst-Kapp, along with gardening expert David Yost. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. And we've got a pretty weekend kind of ahead. We've got a beautiful day today, a day to get out in the garden and get some things done. Spring is arriving this week. We may have a little bump in the road, but it's coming.
It is, and we're getting ready for it. If you come
right.
into the garden center, you're going to find we're starting to bring early season vegetables in, some pansies, the perennials are in bloom. Of course, all your seed starting supplies. So when you come into the garden center, you'll feel like spring.
Yeah. I was out at our Gainesville location yesterday and talking to Jen Shepard, and she was out in the annual house, and she was saying, I just love this time of year because all the new things are coming in. All the plants are coming in. We're standing there amongst all the gorgeous pansies and primroses and the early vegetables, and it was just, Spring is on its way, definitely is.
Yeah, so what Dave Zarin was just talking about, he said something about snow.
No,
we're not listening to that part of the forecast. Selective listening.
That's right.
Selective hearing, that's what we call it.
It's a great day to get out today and do some things in your yard. So you've got some great tips on what you should be doing.
Absolutely. We're going to spend most of the time talking about lawn care today. This early spring is a good opportunity to get your lawn into shape in terms of, we'll talk about primarily weeds, preventing weeds, controlling weeds, seeding, fertilizing, all the things you need to be aware of right now. And a few other gardening tips also, because I'm getting questions on what to cut back, what not to cut back. So a couple little pruning tips. And of course, later in the show, we'll be taking your phone calls. So there's something for everybody here this morning.
Absolutely. Before we get started, I want to let you know what's happening at Merryfield Garden Center today. Our seminars continue, and we've got 3 great topics today at our Merryfield location, which is actually at the Merryfield Community Hall, right next door to our location. Robert Woodman, who was on a couple weeks ago, is going to be talking about native plants. That's at 10 a.m. at Merryfield. At our Fair Oaks location today, David's going to run right out of here as soon as we finish and go over to our Fair Oaks location, and you're going to be talking about spring lawn care.
Right, it'll be in ways a repeat performance of what we're talking about on the TV show today, but of course it's always nice to come to seminars because you have that opportunity to get more detail, you have more time to discuss it, you can ask questions.
Absolutely.
So a lot of times I feel like we can only scratch the surface here on the show, but seminars gives us the opportunity there to go in more depth.
Right. So that's at 10 a.m. at our Fair Oaks location today. At our Gainesville location, Renetta Holt, who was on last week with you, is going to be talking about shade gardens. So if you've got some shady spots in your yard, this is the seminar to take advantage of this morning. That's at 10 a.m. at Gainesville. Next week, 3 more great topics: photography and flowers, rare and underused perennials, and spring lawn care. So your spring lawn care will be a kind of a repeat. If you're not able to go to the spring lawn care today, or you want to go to one of the other seminars today, you can hit spring lawn care next week, right?
Right, that's one, because so many people have lawns, it's got such a wide interest. So a couple of these popular classes, we do offer repeats so you don't have that conflict in deciding which class you want to attend.
Absolutely. So that's basically all the announcements. As David said, everything's coming in. We hope you'll come in and see us. While you're there, be sure to register for our free drawings that we have throughout the year. Wizards Capitals tickets, Verizon Center events. We'll have baseball coming up. It's just a great thing. So no purchase necessary, just one of the fun things we do at Merryfield Garden Center.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, you can feel that sense of cabin fever is building.
Yes.
I don't have to tell you, it's been a tough winter here and everything. And now that the days are a little bit longer, extending into the evening and stuff, I tell you, there's a lot of people, you just feel them coming to the garden center even bundled up saying, I just can't wait for spring to get here.
I know. Come Thursday.
Exactly, and that's kind of one of the things we're here to say is you don't really have to wait. It's here, it's at the garden center. And of course, one of the things for us that marks the arrival of spring is when we get our roses in. Because the roses do come in, the dormant roses come in early in the season. So they've all been come in here, they're nicely packaged. And as you see when I talk about this dormant condition, obviously they're not growing. May be a little hard to see, but there are actually little buds in here. They're starting to swell and break dormancy. So this is a great time to be planting these roses because they're transplanted, they're moved, they're not disturbed growing during the actual growth season. So we get them in the ground now and they have the whole spring to get established.
Right.
Now, the other advantage I'm going to say to getting these dormant roses, it allows you a lot of time to get varieties that may not be available throughout the regular growing season. We're going to talk about pruning a little bit later. I first want to point out, like I said, these roses, like I said, there's varieties. A lot of times we get hybrid teas. We've got the floribundas, the grandiflores, a lot of the climbing roses that we don't have during the growing season. So this is a great opportunity to come in and get them. They've got a little better price on them because of the way they're packaged and shipped. And what you're looking for, you can see these are really good, sturdy plants. They've got these thick canes on there, good solid buds on there, that grafting scar in there. So you want to find a nice sunny location. Roses love the sun. The more sun, the better that's in there. If you dig a wide hole, you enrich the soil with the Merrifield planting mix that's in there. Keep them watered. They're coming in a peat fiber pot like this, and they have a good sturdy root system on. You can just take the bottom of this peat fiber pot and remove that, cut it off with a knife, or actually, if you're careful, sort of slit it down the side and remove it altogether. But the pot does decompose pretty readily, so a lot of times we just slice the bottom and set it down there in the hole. So come in, check that out. Even though there's snow coming in the forecast, these are cold hardy plants. There's no reason you need to wait.
And then, of course, the non-dormant roses, the ones that are already leafed out, will come out in April. But this will give you a nice head start.
Right. A lot of people like to buy them in April because then they can actually see the flowers on them. Well, like I say, if a little bit of that cabin fever is getting to you, you've got a nice day out. If you have a rose garden, this is an excellent time to go out and do your pruning. So we're kind of showing with roses, a lot of times we do this really dramatic renewal pruning on them each year. So you can see this is Rob getting started on. He's our rose manager. This plant's probably about 5 feet tall. You can see that big tangled mess. And what Rob's doing, he's going in there and he's rejuvenating this plant. This is an annual affair. And he's going to go down there and cut it down to a height of about 6 or 8 inches. So that's sort of the before. The next picture shows us the during. We're just going to watch this progress. And I call it kind of untangling the branches. They're all crisscrossed. They're in there. He's cutting out anything that's dead, that's damaged, that has this crossing kind of pattern, because we want to open it up where the center of this plant's open and you get good maximum sunlight penetration into there, maximum air circulation, reduce any disease problems, and then we'll take a look at the finished product. Pretty dramatic.
Not very pretty, but it's going to be.
Yeah. But roses are one of those plants that does respond well to this rejuvenation or renewal pruning. We take it down to a few good, healthy, solid stems, and that gives us bigger, fuller, larger flowers on. And we tend to do this mostly with our hybrid teas, the grandiflores, the floribundas, those kind of classic roses. Climbers, it's a whole different story. We don't have time to go into that. But the other is a lot of people are growing these knockout roses. Knockout roses don't necessarily require this amount of pruning. They'll respond to it if they're big and overgrown. But a lot of the shrub hoses, like the knockouts, people, you can just take some hedge trimmers, cut them back, and shape them to whatever size you'd like them to be.
And what's your timing window?
If you want to do it, actually, like I said, right now is a perfect time to do it. I know it's been a cold year, so I'm going to say anywhere from today till maybe the first week of April. Okay, so if you don't get it this weekend, the weekend or the following weekend, but it's time to get started.
But it's going to be a nice day today, so it's a great time.
The perfect thing to do.
Okay, super. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and come back in just a couple of minutes. Hi everybody, welcome back to Merrifield's Gardening Advisor. We're helping you get ready for spring today because it is just a few short days away for the official start of spring, right?
It sure is. But I tell you, one of the questions we're getting all the time at the plant clinics right now, and the calling in the phones and stuff, is we've seen quite a bit of winter damage this year. A lot of our more tender broadleaf evergreens, things like nandina, camellias, gardenias, magnolias, to some extent hollies, a lot of them have taken a real beating during extreme cold. But sort of the message that we want to get out is if you're experiencing these problems, is we're just asking that you be patient. Resist the urge to go out there chopping and hacking away at the plants. I just brought in as an example like this little nandina. Nandinas are typically, they are evergreens, but depending on the severity of the winters around here, they'll lose some or maybe even all of their leaves. So if you look at like this Nandina that I've got here on the desk, I mean, that thing looks pretty horrible.
It does.
And I can understand if that's sitting in your front yard that you want to go out there and cut it back to the ground and kind of rejuvenate the plant. But in doing so, that actually adds more stress to the plant. There's a couple advantages to just leaving it be. Right now, this foliage in the leaves, even though it's dried up and desiccated, it is providing a little bit of insulation and protecting the growing points and the buds on the plant. The other is, behind each one of those leaves is a bud, and that bud is still alive. And as it starts to warm up and spring arrives, that's going to start to leaf out, and the plant will, these leaves will shed off of there, and a new set of leaves will grow. Going in there and cutting the plant back severely, you're actually taking food reserves off the plant. You're going to make its recovery a little more difficult. So some of these, we may not start to see regrowth occur until we get into April, maybe even May, but they're alive. They're alive, they're going to come back, they're going to recover. There's plants like I also brought in this Mahonia. It's another evergreen because the leaves are out there, they're losing the moisture, so when it's cold you see a little desiccation and the wind and stuff that's on there. But if you're uncertain on something like this, you could go in here with a little knife or pruners, scratch under the bark and see if it's still green and juicy in there, and actually see that it's still alive, meaning if you want to go through there and try to identify what's dead and prune out the dead, you can do that, but it's really hard to tell at this time of year, and I'd rather just say kind of hands off. Now, on things like gardenias, I don't know. We've seen a lot of damage going on with them. They're pretty tender plants, but again, all this stuff, I'm just saying, wait and see.
Right.
Resist the urge to pull them out of the ground. Don't start pulling them up and bring them into the garden center. We go through that each spring. Just be a little patient and give things a chance to recover.
Right.
Now, if you want to get outside and start pruning, because I know we got a nice day here, and you've been inside all winter, you can go out there and start pruning, but what I'm saying is, I kind of use this rule, anything is brown. I brought like this little ornamental grass that we've already cut back. If it's already brown and desiccated, like in your perennial garden, go ahead and cut that back. There are certain ground covers, like the liriope and epimedium and stuff like that, that we like to go and cut that back to a little stub also, and that just kind of get the old weathered foliage off there and rejuvenate it. So if you want to go out this weekend, do some garden cleanup, by all means do so. It's a good time to be pruning your roses. It's a good time to be cutting back some of these overwintering perennials. But like I said, on our broadleaf evergreens with winter damage, let's just be a little patient with those.
So if you need to do a little shaping, is it okay to go ahead and prune for that on the Nandina and the holly, or still wait?
Even those, I'm just going to say, if you can, just let's be patient and see how they come out of this winter.
Okay, good.
There's still time ahead. When we go into April, we can catch up on any pruning then. Okay,
good. So wait, be patient. Be patient. Okay.
Now let's switch over to lawns.
Okay.
Okay, because there's a lot going in lawns also. This is obviously this is not taken today.
Right.
This is what we're kind of looking forward to. And I would say, first of all, we really had a good growing season for grasses. Most of our lawns, these bluegrass fescue lawns, they're cool season grasses. They love cool, moist temperatures. Last summer, we had above average rainfall, below average temperatures. The cold weather we've had this winter is great for them. We've had constant moisture. So really, I'm hoping that your lawns are coming out from last year in relatively good shape, and we're just doing routine maintenance. So we really should be looking good with lawns.
Good.
That's an upside. There's some plants that actually like this kind of cold weather we've experienced. Keep in mind, cool season grasses, 60, 75 degrees is the ideal growing temperature. As we get in these warmer days, it should start greening up, should start growing. But you may also start to see a few of these weeds showing up. You see things like bittercrest, chickweed, dead nettle, henbit. These are all called winter annual weeds, which means that they actually started growing last fall, but they kind of start popping up and blooming this spring. Now, if you see these occurring out in your lawn, you can go out there and just spot treat, meaning, you kind of, wherever they are, you can kind of spray right where those weeds exist and kill them. A couple that I like to use is this either Speed Zone or Weed Beater Ultra. These are both we call selective broadleaf weed killers. They will kill the weeds without harming your lawn. Now, a couple things if you're doing this. Temperatures have to be above 50 degrees. So it is a little bit weather dependent, meaning we're looking where you've got 2 or 3 days where it's going to be above 50 degrees without any rain in the forecast. So even though it's like nice today, but we have this colder temperatures, cold front coming in, and then the snow behind it, this is not really going to be the best time to do it, but you watch your weather forecast closely. When you get that kind of nice sunny day, it's, you know, that 50, 60 degree temperature range, no rain in the forecast, then you could go out and hit these weeds with either Speed Zone or Weed Beater Ultra. They're the same product, just 2 different companies, and that will get rid of the weeds without doing any damage to the lawn.
Great. And that shouldn't be too far ahead of, you know, coming up. I mean,
I'm hoping it's like sometime this week, but,
exactly.
but don't count on that. Use your own judgment.
Exactly.
If it's not, call Debbie. She's the one that's forecasting
That's
the
right.
nice weather.
It's going to be beautiful. I'm just,
Okay.
you know, be positive.
Think positive, right.
Think positive. Well, we'll be right back with more on lawns. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everybody, to Merrifield's Gardening Advisor. I'm David Yost, and so glad you could join us this morning. Always trying to give out some good current gardening tips for you. Today, we're talking a lot about lawns. As we mentioned earlier, your lawns, I'm hoping your lawns are looking good. I mean, we were really blessed with a great growing season, at least for turf grass last year, and you should be coming out this spring. You know, the lawns are still dormant, just little signs of green growing up. But you should be coming out of this situation looking pretty good. So what we really do in the springtime right now, as far as general maintenance, is we kind of focus our attention on weed control. We both want to eradicate weeds, like we were talking about in our last segment, killing things that may have popped in during the winter months. And then we also need to take some steps to prevent weeds from showing up. So what I have here is what I call my kind of growth chart of our annual weeds. When I talk about an annual weed, this is a weed that goes from seed, that seed germinates into that little seedling. It will mature at the flowering stage where it produces more seeds, and then it dies, but at the same time, even though it's dead, it has released potentially thousands of seeds to come back and visit you each year. So an annual plant, an annual weed, it's going to repeat this cycle year after year after year, where it goes, you know, it sprouts, it flowers, produces more seed and dies, but then the next generation continues and persists. So as far as controlling these weeds, we always say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And this is really holds true when we talk about weed management, because if I can come in right at this point in the life cycle, right here, and stop that seed from germinating, it prevents them from showing up in the lawn, prevents it from going any further than that. It's easy, it's economical, and really our most effective way of preventing those weeds. Now, our first line of defense, of course, is keeping the grass thick, keeping it dense, keeping it healthy, so it can outcompete and prevent those seeds from getting a start. But, you know, real life comes into this, and we get thin spots, bare spots, whether it's heat, drought, disease, stress, or whatever, these weeds start to pop up. So a good example of this, and we were just looking at weeds like in our last segment there, we were looking at things like the chickweed, the bittercress, the dead nettle. These are all examples of winter annual weeds. So what happened was I took this picture last year in September. Those seeds sprouted last fall. They went through the wintertime in these little baby seedling stage, and then as we start going into March and April, they're going to be popping up and showing up in your lawn now. So that's something, if we were going to prevent it, that needed to happen last year. We missed that opportunity. So that's where, if they're showing up, I'm saying the Speed Zone or Weed Beater Ultra, go out there and kill them. I'm going to give you a couple other examples now of some common weeds that you might see growing in your lawn. The spotted spurge. That's very common. You'll see it growing up through cracks in the sidewalk. It loves the hot, dry, exposed environments. It will tolerate, you know, dense, compacted soils. So I look at these as opportunists. Anytime there's that little opportunity where your grass gets thin, it gets stressed, a little sunlight goes, these guys start to pop up. Purslane. Purslane was actually introduced into this nation as a culinary food. The seeds, I mean the leaves are succulent. They can actually be used as a salad green or something like that. But of course, you know, modern taste, we've moved on and it's not really used for that purpose. Instead, it's a prolific seed producer. The seeds have gotten into the environment, they're widespread, and now again it starts showing up in our flower beds, in our vegetable gardens, in our lawns, every place. Now what's different about these weeds, these are examples of summer annual weeds, which means they're on a totally opposite life cycle. You don't see them out there in your garden now because they haven't started growing. Those seeds will begin sprouting as our soil temperatures begin to warm up. They begin to sprout, and then by mid-late summer, that's when I took these pictures and they begin to detract from our garden. So what we're trying to do is plan ahead. We want to look ahead and take steps now to prevent these problems from showing up later in summer. The way we do that is this product right here. It's called Gallery with broadleaf weed control. This is a weed preventer. It can be put into landscape beds. It can be used on your lawn. The best time to apply it is somewhere between about March 15 and April 15. So we're in that window now, and I don't give you an exact date. I'm saying that window. So some people like to get in early at the beginning of this season, which would be right now. But whether it's this weekend, next weekend, the following weekend, sometime here in the next few weeks is a good time to put this down. And this one application can last up to 5 months. So we put it down now. It's going to last all season and prevent things like that purslane, spurge, lespedeza, and a lot of these broadleaf weeds that pop up during the summer months. Now, other weeds that you might want to be familiar with or may already be familiar with, hopefully not, is things like crabgrass. Crabgrass is very common, widespread. It grows in hot, sunny environments. And one of the things I think I get, I teach whole workshops on weeds, identify and control, because it's like one of my favorite topics, believe it or not. But you look at crabgrass, and I point out my little chart here, only 50% of the seed germinates at a given year. I want you to be able to read this, so I'll step out of the way. So when a crabgrass plant goes to seed, half of the seed will germinate the following year. The second year, the other half germinates. The third year, the other half. So my point is, if a colleague of mine at work likes to say, hey, 1 year of weeds is 7 years of weeding. And that's a pretty true statement, because once that crabgrass seed gets established, it can persist for like, 5 years or even more. Japanese stiltgrass. This has a very similar kind of life cycle, but Japanese stiltgrass tends to grow in moist, shady environments. You know, it was accidentally introduced here. You can see in the early 1900s. It's widespread. But my point is that plant, if that one plant goes to seed, that's 1,000 seeds, and it's going to persist for the next several years. So the point is the seeds are there. They're opportunists. They're just waiting for the temperatures to get warm, and they're going to sprout and they'll start growing. So the whole idea here again is if you have a history of these problems, we can act now to prevent that from happening. And what I would recommend as far as managing these weeds, goosegrass follows the same life cycle. These are all grassy weeds. Earlier we were talking about broadleaf weeds, things like lespedeza and spurge, crabgrass, goosegrass. These are all grass type weeds. So our most effective preventer for these type of weeds really is the preen crabgrass control. I wish one product could do everything, but it's not quite that simple. So with the preen, it works primarily on the grassy type weeds. It does also control several of the broadleaf, but not quite as broad spectrum in there. So if you really wanted to make sure I'm getting both my grass weeds, my broadleaf weeds, all the summer annuals give the full spectrum, you may consider using both of these products, both the Gallery as well as the preen. Now, one thing we found with this preen is it really only gives us good results for about 3 months. So it does take a couple applications to get through the whole summer. It works very, very effectively. It's easy and it's economical, but you put it down sometime now or the next few weeks, and then about three months later, sometime usually by the end of June, early July, you will need to do a follow-up application. Now, I realize a lot of people are trying to reduce the amount of, well, get ahead of myself. This is the same thing as preen, same active ingredient, but it's in a small shaker can. So this treats about 1,200 square feet. And I say that a lot because, like, I live in a townhouse. This is what I use. And I want to let you know that we try to cater to these, to all your needs. So whether it's a large bag or a small container, stop by and see what we have to offer you. Now, as I was saying, I realize a lot of people want to reduce the amount of chemical input they're putting into their lawns. The corn gluten meal is 100% natural organic alternative. This was discovered out and patented out in Iowa State over 20 years ago, so we've got a good track record with it, plenty of data. The patent's expired, so it's out there in many different sizes and companies are there. But this is a 100% food-grade material. It's a byproduct of the cornmeal industry, so it never even had to go through registration as a pesticide because it's already been approved as a food product. So I realize that if you have the kids and the pets and the environmental concerns or just want to go an organic option, we can now accommodate that as well. Corn gluten is going to cost more. It's going to be a little bit less in terms of its effectiveness, but it's good to have these options. So my time is up. I got to take a commercial break, but please come in the store and we can answer any of your questions in detail and trying to choose just the right weed preventer.
We've been talking about the maintenance of your lawn in the last segment. You gave us a great presentation on what weeds to look for, what to do for them. But if you need to seed, what do we need to think about?
Right. Well, if you need to seed, like say you got some bald spots showing up in there, or you had some damage and just weren't able to repair it last fall, that gets a little more complicated, basically. And really, late summer or fall is the very best time to be seeding. But hey, if it didn't happen for whatever reason, we need to go in and do those repairs now. So one of the things that we do at Merrifield Garden Center, of course, is we do custom blend our own grass seed. It's something we take a lot of pride in, or I know I do, because what we're able to do is we follow the local recommendations. I mean, we follow the test data that's done at Virginia Tech and University of Maryland. They take the grass seed varieties, they put them out for independent trial and evaluation. This is done over a series of years, and then they come out with the top performers. And based on the kind of research and test results, we custom blend our grass seeds for different environments. So most people out there, you're going to be happy using that Tough Play grass seed mix. It's our most heat and drought tolerant. It grows in full sun. It grows in part shade. It's the most durable. So that's going to be your best choice in most cases. But if you're in a heavily shaded area, we do make a shady blend. We also have a bluegrass mixture we call our Merrifield Sunny, which requires a little more care and management, but really a premium quality lawn. So the thing is, if you need to seed, this is the time to kind of get started. That's a look at the Tough Play lawn right there. I still remember that was Hani came to my very first lawn seminar.
Really?
Probably 18 years ago it was, and he picked up the Tough Play, redid his lawn completely with it, and killed everything, started over, and you can see the results speak for himself. So that's a very good grass seed mix to use. That's it in a sunny environment, and then I also have a picture of it in a shady condition. In the shade there, this is about the maximum limits or levels that you can actually grow it in the shade. So it will tolerate what I say sort of 4 hours of sunlight or a very bright dappled light condition. But even in this condition, it started to thin out a little bit, and I actually went in and started seeding a little bit of our shady mix in there, which holds up just a little bit better under those conditions. Now the thing is, when you're seeding your lawn, we talked a lot about weeds.
Right.
And really doing the weed control is not all that compatible and everything with the seeding. So you're kind of making a decision one way or the other. I would recommend that you do want to go ahead and get started on your seeding as soon as possible, but you have to understand the germination and establishment seed is based on temperature and moisture. We've had plenty of moisture in the soil, which is great, but the soil temperatures are still cold.
Right.
And you're not going to see that seed sprout. You're not going to actually see any germination occur until it gets into that upper 50 or 60 degree temperature range. So if you're seeding your lawn, ignore everything I said earlier about the weed treatment control, because it's kind of one or the other. I like to be very clear on that. So if you're going to seed your lawn, you'd go out there and seed it with one of our Merrifield blends, and then you also want to put a starter fertilizer on there. So we'll go back to our pictures. Yeah, these are the variety trials I was talking about down at Virginia Tech, where they're testing all these different grass varieties. With tall fescue, you realize they're testing 175 different varieties of tall fescue. So you don't have to bother with all that. We take care of that for you when we custom blend our grass seed. So you would go through, scratch up any bare spots, any bald spots, make sure we get good soil seed exposure, do your seeding, and at that same time fertilize with the Merrifield Select. That Merrifield Select is a starter fertilizer. It's slow release. It's high in phosphorus. It's not going to injure the grass seed or anything. Put it down at the same time and then just be patient. Just allow time. Wait this out. It's going to take several weeks, but as that soil gradually starts to warm, the grass will grow in. After that grass has been mowed 3 times, after its 3rd cut, then we treat it as an established lawn, and you can go back and start doing your weed treatments and your weed prevention like we talked about in earlier segments.
So you've got to make a decision.
You do.
Okay.
Now, there is a way out of that.
Okay.
And I'm trying to do this so it doesn't confuse anything. But I wanted to introduce everybody to a new product.
Okay.
This is, it's a new herbicide. It's called Tenacity. It is both a broadleaf weed killer, weed preventer, and it also works on annual grasses that we looked at, and it can be used at the same time as seeding. So this contradicts everything I just told you, but I'm just trying to make it very clear. This is a specialty product that can be used. It's a starter fertilizer with a weed killer, weed preventer, that can be used at the same time as seeding. So Tenacity is the commercial name. Late last year, it came out under that Scott Step 1 for seeding. So if you wanted to try something new, if you were in this situation where you said, hey, I'm trying to manage my weeds, I'm also trying to do my seeding, there is an option for you with that Scott Step 1 for seeding with Tenacity. So that's an option. Again, it costs more, it's a little more involved, but it's an option that may be right for you to consider. The other, just real quickly, because I know I'm going to run out of time, I want to say I didn't get a chance to show our Merrifield Premium. This is our custom blended fertilizer. If you're not seeding, you know, and you're just doing routine maintenance on established lawn, you can use the Merrifield Premium. And then we have this, I'm showing in a townhouse size. It does about 1,500 square feet. We also have in bags that does 5,000 square feet. And this is the problem. We have so many options available to you. I know it gets confusing. That's why we have the professional help.
That's right.
Come in, and I'm trying to give a quick overview, but the bottom line here is, you know, it's based on your individual circumstances, the size of your lawn. Do you seed, not seed? Do you have weeds? But we can help you out in all situations.
And at all 3 locations. So definitely bring in samples whenever you can. That's always helpful.
Yes.
But we are there to help. So
Right.
that's great. We're going to take your phone calls when we come back. So give us a call, 703-387-1046. We'll talk to you soon. There's some bright spring flowers coming, get you in the mood for that. And St. Patrick's Day coming up. So.
Oh, exactly. So it's a great season, and as you saw, I mean, we just got all those beautiful silk flowers in too.
Yes.
So if you're into floral arrangements, we're the place to come for that as well.
Absolutely. And if you need shamrocks, it's up in the greenhouse. So we're taking phone calls, so give us a call, 703-387-1046. And David, our first caller is Jean, who's calling from Silver Spring. Hi, Jean.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, good morning.
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Great.
We're doing just
First
great.
of all, I enjoy your show so much. I love it.
Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you.
What's your question?
My first question is, what do I do about a snake that I saw in my garden last fall, and I haven't been there since?
Okay, I'm glad you said last fall, because I was thinking that snake should still be hibernating. You know, they're
Where is he
cold-blooded
now,
animals.
though? Where will I look for him, or do I look for him?
Well, I doubt you're going to find him. I mean, snakes, they do go into winter hibernation, and the temperatures are still cold, so they'll burrow down under logs or into rock crevices. I don't know if you have any dried stack stone walls, but that kind of environment where they literally have to hunker down for the winter time. But as the days get longer and the temperatures start to get warmer, they will start to emerge out, and they like to sun themselves, so they'll lay out usually in a nice sunny area on warm rocks.
Right on my deck.
Like that. Yeah, because they need the warmth of that sun for their metabolism to keep them going. Now, I mean, I'm sure you realize, most of the snakes are harmless and they're beneficial. They're feeding on insects and voles and keeping other pests under control. There are a couple poisonous snakes in the environment, but that's very unusual. So do you get a good look at it? Can you give
he was like a dark gray or black and a yellow stripe down his back.
Yeah, that's probably just a garden snake, we call it. They're beneficial. They feed on insects primarily, maybe some real small animals, but mostly just feeding on insects. They're a lot more afraid of you than you are afraid of them.
That's what I hear, but he sure got rid of me.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you, try to resist the urge to kill them or anything, because they are actually beneficial.
Oh, don't worry about that. I'm afraid he'll kill me.
Yeah, okay.
She's going to stay away from him, I can tell.
Yeah, I understand a lot of people kind of have that fear of snakes. Now, we do sell several different snake repellents, because you're not alone in that. Either liquid or granule ones that you can put along the sliding screen glass door.
Well, that would kill him?
Garage door openings. No, they're repellents.
Oh, okay.
So you could try that. If this is this an upper level deck or is it ground level?
It's ground level.
Yeah. Then we sell a couple of them called like Snake Away or Dr. T's Snake Away. It's a powdered form, and you can just kind of sprinkle it around the perimeter of your house, any sliding glass doors, any windows you might have in that level, garage door openings. It's a natural product, but the smell is supposed to be irritating.
Oh, I didn't know that was available.
Yes, it is. We have it at our garden center. I know you're in Silver Spring there, but we've got the store there in Falls Church, just around the Beltway from you. Come in and ask to look at the different snake repellents.
Yeah, I will do that.
And sometime, like I said, they're not going to be active right now, but as it starts to warm up, sometime next 2-3 weeks, you'll probably want to put some of that down.
Right.
Do you think I have a nest of them anywhere?
I doubt it. If you found just one garden snake creeping around, that's actually a good thing. It's not like a major problem, but I understand your fear, and so just putting a little snake repellent around there should...
Yeah, that's what I will do.
Keep that from being an issue for you.
And I have one other question.
Okay, let's make it quick because we got...
Okay, I have a container. Do I change the soil in my containers?
I usually go about 3 years between doing a total changeover. I just like year to year freshen it up a little, stir a little bit of fresh mix in there, a little fresh fertilizer, but you don't have to do a total replacement.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Okay, good luck with the snakes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, Mike from Falls Church is next on the line. Hi, Mike.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, I bought a couple of, I think they're called Skyrocket junipers from you all, because I like the real tight and narrow form of them for next to my front door.
Right.
But last year, the snow made them splay out some, and they never went back together, and I don't know, do I have to just accept them this way, or is there something I can do to make them tight and narrow again? Yeah,
that's a common problem on them with the multiple stems and everything. I mean, what you can do is a combination of, if they're really splayed out, you can go in there. We sell a product called Arbor Tie. It's specifically made for tying trees up. But you can go in and some of those inner branches literally sort of pull them back together and tie them up with this Arbor Tie. This is also a good time if you want to lightly shear them. You could go outside. With junipers, you don't want to cut back into the old woody stem of the plant, but you can just get some hedge clippers and lightly shear the tips out where it's green and supple, and that also makes them a little thicker and a little bit denser. So I would probably do a combination of going in there, kind of weaving a little of this arbor tie together, trying to tie up some of the branches a little tighter, and after you've done that, just take some shears and go out there and just kind of give them a little haircut, about the outer 1, maybe 2 inches of it, and that can also help tighten them up and extend their useful life.
That arbor tie, is that invisible from a distance?
It's kind of an olive green color, so it kind of disappears into the color of the plants, even though I know that's got a little blue-green color in it. It's soft, it's supple, it's weather resistant, real easy to work with. And you can buy it by the foot. You know, it comes a 250-foot roll, but if you want to buy 10-foot, 20-foot, 30-foot, we'll just pull it off that roll and sell it that way as well.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
I'm on my way.
All right. Have a great weekend.
Thanks.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Deneen is on the line, but hang tight. We'll be right back with you. There, we're ready for St. Patty's Day.
A little lamb or something taking a nap. Yeah.
Oh, great. I'm ready. I'm ready for spring. Okay, our next caller is Deneen, who's calling from Largo. Thanks for holding. How are you?
Good morning. I love your show.
Thank you. Never get tired of hearing that.
Learned lots of good stuff this morning.
All right.
Good.
Well, I have a question about, I have a tremendous amount of vines that are growing up into trees in my yard. They're sticky, prickly, grapevines, you name it. I'm wondering, I know I can cut them at the bottom, but I can't pull them down out of the trees.
Right.
And I'm wondering, and they look really ugly, you know, up in the trees. Is there a way to get those out of the trees? Is there some type of equipment, or what can I do to get those vines out of the trees?
Well, it is just this manual physical labor, which involves, you know, being able to get up there and pull the vines out. It's the kind of thing that, you know, of course we could do that for you, or a tree service can do that. You know, they've got the trucks with the lifts that can get up there. Or you're talking about ladders or climbing or something like that. Now, to a certain extent, you know, I've had good luck just sort of pulling them down from being at the ground level, but if it's really hung up there and they're old vines, in fact, it may require somebody to go up there. But one of the options you have as far as killing them, because if you just cut that stem, they'll re-sprout from there. Really, I think the most effective thing you can do, and this is tedious, but there is what's called stump and vine killer. And what you do is you would actually injure the stem of the plant. So down the ground level where you are, you can take some pruners or a knife or something and just scratch up the bark of the vine, and then take this stump and vine killer, and it's literally comes with a paintbrush. You paint it right directly into that wound, that exposed cut, and it translocates down into the roots, and so it kills the vine as well as the root system, and it's not going to damage the tree because you're only applying it directly to the vine. So my suggestion would be sometime, you know, it's convenient, you know, as you go in the growing season, go through there, you know, at least the worst of them, use this stump and vine killer. After they're dead, then you'll either have to wrestle with pulling them down yourself, or hiring a contractor, or getting an estimate from us to actually go in and do the removal part of it.
Okay, so I can apply that now?
It's a little bit early. I think it's better if you wait until we get into the growing season and you actually start to see them leaf out. But as you start to see them leaf out, then you can start doing the treatment.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for watching the show.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Rita is calling from Reston. Hi, Rita.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What can we do
I am
for you?
enjoying your show, and I hope you could help me.
All right, let's give it a try.
Okay, I purchased a cut live Christmas tree, and since I'm limited on space, I put it in a bare spot just to decorate.
Okay.
So after the holidays, I removed the lights. And do you know, to today, it still looks fresh and green.
Wow.
And my question
So
to
you
you
still
is,
have it inside your house?
No, outside,
Okay.
outdoor. I use it as an outdoor Christmas tree to decorate the front of my house.
Okay, now.
So that was a bare spot, and it looked so lovely, I decided, after I removed the lights, I'll leave it there. So it still looks as fresh as it was when I first purchased it. My question to you is, how can I tell that it has taken root, or it is growing, or it's something that I have to remove?
Now you have it in a pot?
No.
Or
I had someone dug a hole.
Good.
Because it would look ugly. So I just dug.
Oh, okay. Now when you say live Christmas tree, did this have the root ball?
No, it did
Or
not have a
is
root.
It cut
It was
tree?
cut. It was cut.
Okay,
It was
now,
cut.
yeah, all right. Just make sure I have this right. It is not going to root. It's what happened is just basically refrigerated. I've done this. I mean, the plant, it's outside. We've had cold. It's green. It still looks lovely. Enjoy it. But as we go into spring and it starts to warm up, there's no root system on this. The plant's going to dry out and it's going to turn brown and die. So it's just, you know, they have a really incredibly long, good needle retention. It's holding the color. It's been cold temperatures. So, I mean, this is a little extraordinary that's lasted for you this long. But they are not capable of producing roots. It's not going to grow. It's an ornament, and when it's finished looking ornamental, it's going into the recycling bin or the trash.
All right, well, I'll enjoy it as long as I can.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now, I've done this. I've put trees out like you, and all the way into March, they're looking fabulous, and you start thinking, man, maybe it's going to grow. But
and with the possible snow, I mean, you may be ready, you know.
But it's not going to work.
I'll keep you posted. If I think I'll keep it there as long as it's green.
All right, if it takes root and grows, come in and I'll take you out to lunch. I'm that confident. It's not going to happen.
Thanks for your help.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Okay, let's see. Mimsy is calling from McLean. Do you have a quick question? We've got about a minute left.
Sure. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My quick question is our liriope, which has been established about 8 years. The last 3 years it started dying back in clumps. It's various. It starts from the bottom. I don't know whether it's crown rot. We've tried various insecticides and different things. We've looked on the Virginia Tech site to see what else we can do, but it keeps going. Does that mean I need to remove all the liriope? It's down a long 100-foot walk.
No,
and
let me ask
dig it all
you
up?
real quick here, Mimsy. What time of year do you see the problems show up?
Usually starts right after it comes in. You know, it just can depend. It's not water. It's not water related. It's not heat related.
Okay, I'm gonna run out of time. When you pull the plants, are the roots still there?
Yes.
Okay, got a quick one.
We're gonna have to go because I was thinking possibly voles. We see a fusarium crown rot, but that's under hot, wet weather conditions. So I'm a little stumped.
Come on over to the garden center
Bring
today.
some samples into the garden center and let's see what we can figure out. I don't think you have to remove it all.
Good. Thanks so much. Thanks for joining us. Next week, pleasing plant combinations. So have a